environment is as important as the individual object or face there. It's that relationship again. And I do like to encourage the audience to participate in the film, because I think most films now don't need the audience's participation. All the work is being done by the filmmaker. And you speed through, they're sort of relentless in the speed of things, terrified that if we leave a gap there long enough, the audience will get confused. And that bothers me, so I like the fact that people are able to go back again and again to the films and find new things in them. And still, even at the end of that, may not be certain exactly what one was saying. I'm happier if everybody in this cinema would walk out with a different idea of what the film was. I think that's a great accomplishment. Sure. Yeah. Because people are then involved in the thing. We were talking the other day about my problem with Raiders of the Lost Ark. What I loved was the participation of the audience in the Saturday morning serials. We would get the half hour, and you'd be left with a cliffhanger, and then you spend the week trying to work out how do you get out of it. And so we became part of the process. And of course, next Saturday, it'd be some stupid way out. And you feel, oh, we got gypped. By the end of that half hour, they hooked you again. And off we go into this world of trying to imagine our way through it. And I think that's important.
One of the things that we see in your films, I mean, whether it's Johnny Depp or Jeff Bridges or Robin Williams, in the film where you see tonight, Robert De Niro, Brad Pitt, you've gotten some of the most interesting performances out of some of the biggest names in Hollywood, and some of their most daring work. Is that something that you kind of recognize and proud of, or is that just, again, just part of the landscape, just keep moving forward?
No, I like the idea of, in a sense, casting people against type, because you don't know I don't know what is going to happen. And in many ways, they don't know what's going to happen, but it becomes exciting, and you're taking chances again, rather than just doing Captain Jack again.
Gordon Verbinski was here last weekend. He should have been here.
No. I mean, it's fantastic, but it doesn't keep me interested, and I'm very selfish in that sense. So something like 12 Monkeys, the idea of Bruce playing this totally internalized character as opposed to Action Man, and Brad playing motor mouth and frenetic as opposed to the blonde hair and looking beautiful, and they rose to the occasion. Almost in that situation, it was our paths were crossing at the right time when they wanted to prove something, and I was there to take advantage of them. And it's and because I find with films, you write it and you live with it a long time, so you know it, and then you start casting with your dream cast, and then with any luck it doesn't happen, because in that process I'm sort of closing in the world of what the film might be, and so for me it's not surprising anymore. It then becomes a mechanical process, the actual shooting of the film, and that's boring, because filmmaking is really boring. And so if it can be full of surprises and unexpected things and people doing performances that you've never seen before, every day becomes, this is good.
The film we're going to watch tonight, Brazil, is one of my favorite films, I have to tell you. And I know for a lot of people here, it's something special. I mean, it's completely out of its mind, which I really, really admire. When a movie like this, when you look back on this movie, how do you see it now in a way that's different than when you made it? Does it echo in a way that you couldn't have anticipated back in the 80s?
I think the fact that I keep bumping into young people and say, how did you know now would be like it is. I find that extraordinary, because we were just doing what we were doing. I said, actually, it's always been like it is. We just, I mean, there was far more terrorism going on in the 80s than there are now. Okay, bigger, and one event was quite unbelievable, but there was much more terrorism that really affected people, whether it was the IRA blowing up London, planes being hijacked, Alberto Moro in Italy being assassinated. I mean, it was incredible. It was just what it was, and it's always like that. It's how the news does it. I actually, when I was promoting Thailand, I said I was coming over to America thinking of suing W and Dick Cheney for the illegal and unauthorized remake of Brazil. You guys live with Homeland Security, fastest growing bureaucracy in the country. I think it's very much like the Ministry of Information, because when your job is to hunt down and destroy terrorists, and there aren't any out there, you gotta make some. And I think you're paying for it right now.
Well, as the federal government sets up snipers on either side of the building, we are going to, I know there's a lot of people here who would like to ask some questions, so we're going to turn it over to the audience. I would encourage you to remember that a question ends in a question mark. It should not be a proposal, a threat, or a declaration of self.
And how many words? Is it like Twitter? How many can we limit to the same number? Yeah.
Right there.
When you create a world as vivid as Brazil is, do you imagine it in sections, or do you think of it as a cohesive whole?
Brazil, they're rather organic, is what it is. You start out with very clear ideas, and then things change. Things are constantly shifting. I wanted to have very simply, I wanted not a retro world, but I wanted it to take place everywhere in the 20th century. So you're pulling technology, future, past, and contemporary, and see what the mixture is. And no, I don't know what it's going to look like. I mean, what's interesting in the case of Brazil, the final torture chamber, originally it was scripted, and the way I designed it was a continuation of those white corridors, and it ended up being a 40-foot cube with a chair in the middle, white. But then, looking for locations, we were down at Croydon Power Station, because we were looking for things that we were going to use for the ministry, and those power stations, they were all being decommissioned, but they were full of so much stuff. And I went inside one of those great parabolic cooling towers, and I thought, Jesus, this is extraordinary, we've got to use this. So the plan of this rectilinear world getting more and more compressed was thrown out the window, because there was something more extraordinary. So for me, I do my own location scouting. I try to do just about everything, because I can then make those quick decisions. Say, oh, let's change it, throw it out. We've been working on it for a year like that. Let's go do this, because it's better. And that's kind of how it works. And I think that's why I try to keep my finger on everything. We draw, and we're looking for surprises. I mean, even in something like the short film here, things like the egg sequence, that at the end there, it is called the Hospital of Dolls. It's a real place. And I was there, we decided we were going to shoot there, and as we were about to leave, I saw this little plaster half egg with a little baby Pulcinella in it. And I said, that's fantastic. So suddenly we have a hospital scene with eggs. Now that wasn't what I originally wrote, but that's how it works. And I think that constant dialogue with the real world, because that's the other thing. If it was all designed, and one designer was designing, it's boring. I try to get the other departments to bring things in. So it's growing all the time. And it gives it, I think, a sense of believability, because these are real things. It's like the computer in Brazil that Jonathan uses. We got a bargain basement old teletype machine. They were almost giving them away, and they're big things. And I said, that's interesting, but it's kind of boring. And so I said, pull the cover off. It was a big thing. And inside, with all this stuff. That's nice. Okay, now let's put a TV screen on it. Let's get the smallest TV screen we can find, because that would be weird. And I said, now you can't read anything on it, so let's put a big lenticular lens on it. And so suddenly we have a computer. And it wasn't designed, it was found, I suppose. And that's what's fun.
It's great, the serendipity of it all. How about back there? Hey.
You're talking about the concept of perpetual Christmas in the film, where that grew out of, how it developed.
Wishful thinking. No, I thought, what better to, goodwill towards man, and all the joy of, Jesus being born, and good late night shopping, all of that. What a better time and place to have terrorism rampant. It's all about juxtaposition. Everything I do is about juxtaposition. It's not very clever. It's just it kind of works.
Hey there.
So Tom Stoppard tells a story. Maybe you could comment on the truth of it. So according to him, he tried to dissuade you from doing this retread of 1984, but because you hadn't read 1984 at that time, there wasn't any reasoning